Welcome to the WordyGirl Entertainment Podcast. I am your writer-in-chief, Rosalind Jackson. I am a lover of words, and that love led me to a passion for writing. And what's the next best thing to writing? Talking about writing. So kick back and join me for mind-blowing chats about writing, covering everything from screenplays to novels to poetry, from nonfiction books to songwriting, and much more. Jason Edmonds is a music producer and entrepreneur who spent his early days in Indianapolis developing his musical interests. Both sides of his family are highly musical. His mother's side was very active in gospel, and his father and uncles were local performers who are now recognized as his Uncle Kenny Babyface Edmonds, and after 7, made up of his Uncle Kevon Edmonds and his father Melvin Edmonds. At 19 years old, Jason signed his first publishing deal with Edmonds Entertainment and soon began writing songs for Whitney Houston, Boyz II Men, Green Day, Tyrese, Babyface, Tank, John B., Scarface, Jhené Aiko, and many more. During these early years, Jason signed the largest record deal offered to a new artist by Interscope Records. Next, Jason set his sights on artist management. His first clients under Stampede Management were Macy Gray and Layla Hathaway. Between 2018 and 2020, Jason and his business partner Michael Williams formed Williams Edmonds Media and Omnis, a virtually integrated media player with live streaming and on-demand capabilities. They launched their first live streaming concert event from the home of Teddy Riley, featuring Blackstreet. They also produced in-home concerts for Snoop Dogg, Tank, Keith Sweat, Brian McKnight, Melissa Etheridge, and more. Welcome to the WordyGirl Entertainment Podcast. Today we are speaking with singer-songwriter Jason Edmonds. Hey, Jason.
Hey, what's up, Ross? How are you?
Good, and you? Good, and you?
Very good.
Thank you so much for talking with me. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I was kind of shocked that you asked me, but I'm humbled and more than willing to always support my friends. And it's good that you're doing it. Thanks for considering me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Mostly I've been doing, TV and film interviews, but my podcast is also centered around music writing, but I hadn't interviewed like anybody musical yet until I interviewed Brains last week.
Okay.
And so I said, I need to really start getting into more interviews involving people who do songwriting and things like that. And so once I interviewed Brains, that made me start thinking of all the guys that were at the building, all the, pictures and everything. And I was like, let me ask Jason, see if he would be, happy to do it. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate it. Of course.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in your intro, you grew up in a musical family, starting in the church, getting that good gospel foundation. And then your father and uncles later became the music legends we know as singer-songwriter Babyface and R&B group After 7. And for you young millennials out there that don't know, who After 7 is, they consisted of Melvin Edmonds, Jason's father, Kevon Edmonds, his uncle, and Keith Mitchell. Was Keith a relative or no?
Very close family friend.
Oh, okay. And then you joined the group in 2016, but we'll get into that, a little bit later. And so also just wanted to, give my condolences on the passing of your father.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so, so After 7 was the quintessential R&B group. They were all about the love songs and the baby making music. And so some of my favorites were, the hits Ready or Not and Can't Stop. So those were like two of my favorites. So what was it like growing up in such a musically gifted family?
Well, very, very, I mean, inspiring is probably the best word. I mean, at every turn, somebody was always singing, playing an instrument, and they all sang and played better than I did. So it was it was fun growing up. I had, groups of my own that I had formed in Indianapolis with some friends that are still doing it today, and kind of started my career off the best way I can, just kind of bootstrapping my own musical career. And then I came to Los Angeles in 1997, lived with my dad while he was still in the group, while I began songwriting and things like that. And then, it was like I was kind of trained to do music in one way or another. I think in my 40s now, I've realized that that can mean a lot of different things. That can mean singing, that can mean writing or producing, it can mean production and film and television, and because it's all musically inclined and oriented in a way, they're all tied in together. So
exactly. And so then you started out professionally first as a songwriter, correct?
Professionally, no. Actually, well, let's see. In the order, I guess what makes you a professional, right? What makes you a professional is when you sell something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'd been songwriting all along growing up. Obviously very unprofessionally, but Kenny actually gave me my first publishing deal right before I got my first record deal. So I was signed to Edmonds Entertainment / EMI. At a publishing company, and publishing deal in '99, but then in 2000, I signed a pretty substantial new artist deal at Interscope with a group called After Seven as an artist.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you would consider more professional than the other, but they kind of started at the same time.
Oh, okay. And so when you first started, when you got your publishing deal, what were some of the projects you started working on first?
It was really trying to write on the projects that Yab Yum had at the time. Yab Yum was Tracy Edmonds' label that she ran, and they had artists like John B. and Lorne and Beverly Crocker, I think her last name was, and some other acts too that were in development. And it was just a matter of just trying to get on where you could get on, and write with everybody. And John Robinson was up there a lot, and we used to write together a lot. And actually, I kind of co-A&R'd the Beverly project with him. And if you will, I selected songs with him and kind of help the process along. He was definitely the more of the A&R, but I'm able to say I made some decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever write anything with Brains and the other writers on the publishing label?
Man, yes. Now, what did we write together? I don't even know if Brains could tell you either, because we were together every single day. And I know we wrote on a bunch of stuff together, but I don't think we did anything major together, which is, unfortunate because we spent so much time together. But hey, it's never too late. Brains, if you're listening, let's get it in.
Right. Make those connections. Yeah. And so you wrote songs for people like Whitney Houston, Boyz II Men, Tyrese, John B, like, as you said. What was it like working for big groups like that or big names like that?
Well, see, the thing is that, you never, when it's in terms of my class of writing, like with Kenny, he'll know who he's writing for. He's built the credibility to be able to write specifically for somebody, and they're going to get the song, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to love it. The rest of the world kind of just writes a song. And then you might write with someone in mind. Like if you hear a track or something inspires you that reminds you of a particular artist, and it turns out that particular artist is actually recording right now, working on the album, you might have a sense of direction. But I will say that the Whitney song and the Boyz II Men song, out of all the other credits I have, were probably the only 2 songs that I wrote that were actually for the artist that it landed on. And partially because of Kenny, he wrote the song that I did the music on with Nate Walton and Tavia for Whitney. He wrote the lyrics for her, so that was a direct tie-in. And then for Boyz II Men, I wrote my songs with Wanye. So that's how those happen. But everything else is just a crapshoot. You just kind of just point you know, in the direction that you want, and I hope it lands on something.
Oh, okay. Now, which song was that for Whitney Houston and Boyz II Men?
Well, the Whitney song was called "Try It on My Own."
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a concept Kenny and Carol Basinger came up with on the phone while we were all sitting there. They literally wrote the song while we were sitting there on the phone.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it was nuts how he did it. He was like, yeah, I really like what you guys, because Nate, Tabia, and myself had written another song and went to play it for Kenny, for Whitney, but he didn't really like the subject matter. He was like, you mind if I call Carol and kind of work some lyrics? And they rewrote the whole song right in front of us in like 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
That
It
is
was
major
bizarre.
talent.
Yeah, well, he's got it. Yeah.
And what was the Boyz II Men song?
It was called Loving You.
Okay.
I can't remember what album it was on. It was some time ago now, but yeah, it's called Loving You, and I wrote it with Wanye, and it was an incredible. We wrote 3 or 4 songs together, so I still have some in reserve. I may try to bring back to life one day.
Okay. Yeah. So what is your process for writing a song? Like when you know you're gonna, either you have somebody in mind, like you said, or you just wake up in the morning and say, I want to write a song today. Like when you get that feeling, what do you do? Like how do you start, or what's your whole process?
You know, the truth is I've never had a process. It's just always you kind of go with what you feel. You know, if you're going to the studio. You know, any writer or producer knows that about his day. It's a matter of what time, and through the flow of the day, you kind of figure out who it is you're writing for, unless you wake up with a purpose, with a project to write for, and then you set out to write it. In those instances, you show up at the studio on a certain time. You sit down and you either come up with a track first to kind of create the vibe of whatever artist you're shooting for, or for me, it's really about the subject matter and trying to come up with a concept that the artist hasn't said before, and that maybe I haven't said before. It's something new and fresh that you can kind of formulate a story off of. Okay. And then you start the story process, and then you write that.
Okay. Yeah. Do you play any instruments?
Yeah, I play piano, saxophone, and drums too, I guess I could say, without drummers getting mad at me. Yeah.
And the saxophone, I love. That's actually one of my favorite musical instruments, is the saxophone.
Yeah, it's hard to be successful as a sax player.
Yeah.
I did that in school, and it was fun and everything. But when I got to LA, I was like, yeah, I don't see a sax player out here. I'm going to stick with this piano thing.
Yeah, I personal side note, I wanted to play the saxophone in school because I was in the band in like junior high, and I wanted to play the saxophone, but my brother talked me out of it. He was like, girls don't play saxophones. So so I ended up playing the clarinet. So to this day, I tease him about that. I said, you shot down my dream. I could have been a saxophone player.
You could have been a great saxophone player. We had great saxophone. I was in the marching band too, and we had girls in our section and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to you being in After 7, how did that come about?
It was a process. First, I started singing backgrounds for Kevon during his solo album for 24/7. He went on tour, and I was singing backgrounds. Well, you know how the fans would have it. You know, anytime you're known as one thing and you go solo, you're still going to have to perform some of the songs they know you from. And so somewhere in the middle of the tour, he was like, hey, you think you might want to cover your dad's parts on these songs as they come up? And I remember the show. It was Chastain Park in Atlanta, outdoor venue, and that was my first time performing my dad's parts on some of the stuff. And so when this album kind of ran its course and he was kind of getting back into the After 7 mindset, my dad was still a part of it, and he actually was okay with me filling Keith Mitchell's spot for a while, and I started being a member. So when you said in the beginning that since 2016, that's actually the first time we did an album together, and it was actually 2015.
Oh, okay.
But the time when I actually joined the group had to be 2005 or 2006, and I've
Oh,
been
wow.
trying to remember the year exactly. But yeah, I had taken kind of a fill-in role early out, and
Uh-huh.
then in 2015 it was kind of, if you will, solidified by being on an album as myself rather than being on stage filling in for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know it started that early. That's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so did you feel any sense of like intimidation or fear, stepping in the shoes of your father?
Yeah, it was really hard.
Mm.
It was really hard.
Hmm.
My dad's an incredible singer.
Yes.
He was a singer's singer.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
So, and I'm not. I'm a stylist. I'm a guy who can
Hmm.
who can work his vibe into almost anything.
Hmm.
So I,
Hmm.
I appreciate my talent, but I am not the kind of talent that my father was.
Hmm.
And singing his parts, which
Hmm.
required complete and just like all the soul you have
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
to to come out. It was a very hard task, and I don't really know if I ever really did it justice, but I did what I did, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Now, how do you think the fans felt about you joining the group? Did you get any slack on that, or do you feel like the fans welcomed
Yeah.
it?
Um, at first, definitely caught some slack. Mostly the slack. See, the thing about black people, this is why I love black people. That's why I love us, right? Because the thing is that they want to see who they want to see, but if you're
Hmm.
good, they're
Hmm.
gonna they're gonna mess with you. I want to say the F word. They're gonna mess with you though. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna mess with you by the end of the show. So what would happen is I would start the show, I would come out, and I would get these looks like, who the hell is this dude standing up there? You know what I mean? And I look like my dad, so I would get this
Hmm.
weird kind of side eye look, like, wait a
Right.
minute, but did he gain 50 pounds? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then I would start singing. I definitely don't sound like them. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? They're like, okay. But then by the end of the show, um, I think I got them. I don't know.
Mhm.
Some shows I did better than others.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was it was one of those things where you got to kind of force the authenticity and
Mhm.
just be yourself and just go for whatever you can give them
Mhm.
and
Right.
hope they happy with it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be you can run into one of those Apollo moments where they boo you
Yeah.
off the stage if you don't come with what they want you to come with.
Listen, and I can say this, and I have to say, we have never been booed.
Oh,
Thankfully,
that's good.
thankfully, never,
It's like, how can
never.
you boo those voices?
Well, yes, Kevon was going to give you quintessential Kevon, dependable
Hmm.
voice every single show, and
Hmm.
so you really
Hmm.
can't boo, even if someone else on the stage isn't great.
Right.
You weren't going to boo because he was so good.
Yes,
So,
yes. He
yeah.
has like pitch perfect voice. It's like it sounds
Mhm.
so crystal clear.
Yeah,
And then your father's voice, he had that smooth, velvety, like crooner type voice. So it
yeah.
gave like that those rich complexities in the same song.
Yes, that's what that balance between the two of them was what everybody really fell in love with about
Mm-hmm.
After Seven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so how do you feel about like how the music industry has changed? Like, what do you think about how it was back in the day? Like, even just going back to um, the '90s, like the heyday, to now, it's a completely different industry. So, what do you feel about that? Or what
So,
changes have you noticed?
oh man, I mean, if you've had your eyes open, you've noticed all kind of changes. Um, I don't know where to start. I think ultimately, um, music itself, I think by its definition or by the axiom of music, which is creativity, it's going to change
Mm.
regardless. No matter how long a similar sound exists in the market, There's going to be something very soon, and no one knows, no one can predict it, when something so fresh will hit the scene, and then everything will sound like it for another point in time.
Right.
So music is going to change, and it has changed dramatically. Obviously, the internet and the 2004 crash, and the whole music industry crash is what I mean, from Napster and LimeWire and things like that. The ability to make money from music changed dramatically. Thusly, did the creative process, because now you could put out a record and kind of like make no money. In those days, people were afraid to still spend, 50,000 on making a record or more. I'm sorry, that's a low amount. They were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars making a record. And that became a very scary idea, because then the record could be pirated and you can lose all your money. And labels they lost their butts on a few things, and they were like, nope, we're not doing that. We have to update the technology to keep up with the flow of where the world is in the business. So companies like Fruity Loops, companies like GarageBand, companies like Logic and Pro Tools, and those that had already existed, started making heavier strides into becoming really kind of go-to programs for home studios. And through that, people started releasing records more on a quantitative basis rather than qualitative. And trying to basically flood the market, get their sound out there. And if it catches, you make money. If it doesn't, then you go, you didn't really lose any money on it, right? Because it didn't cost you as much to make.
Right.
Same goes with music videos. People used to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on music videos. All they had to go away, because, on YouTube, you're not going to make, but $1,800 for 5 million views.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that had to change. And so you spend less money, and it becomes now a game of numbers rather than a game of quality and getting the best musicians on, and getting, before, if you did a ballad, man, you had to have the players on there, or it wasn't going nowhere. That's ballads really don't even exist like that anymore. So music changes, and the business changes music, and vice versa.
Yeah. I miss the days of the music videos and all that. It's just like it feels like something's gone without the music video. Like, you don't get that visual, you don't get that connection between the artist and the song, and and what they're trying to portray on the screen, and just basically what message they're trying to get across. It's like that's totally missing these days.
It's now really about, okay, that person put this message out and it worked, let's do that. Because it's easy to emulate. Any I hate to say it, but there's a lot of artists that could be really kind of any artist, you know what I mean? Just because they're not as unique as, some of the older artists were, or had to be, even to get noticed.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of like the music being, online and digital and everything, you branched into the online world and dealing with music. Tell us a little bit about that. You created a company called Music Maven, and you have Omnis. Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, tell us about those platforms and how they work.
So I think it should be said, because you didn't actually ask this question. So I'm upon my exit from the group after my father passed, I was kind of forced into concentrating on, what will be my identifier now. For a while I was known as that guy, and now I have to be known as this guy. And I've got a family, I've got things in my life that are requiring me to stake my claim in this world.
Right.
And in doing that, working with some buddies who had some tech ideas, and I joined them early out and ideated what is now Music Maven, and that being a online kind of reporting apparatus. So like a SoundScan or a Billboard charting or those other companies, we've joined the fight in giving artists daily reports on their streams and sales and revenue, so that they don't have to wait for the reports to come out, which are weekly. And there's other companies that do it, and we've joined a rat race, but we're carving out our identity in that space. The other concept, Omnis, is a new platform for streaming concerts. Okay. And ironically, what happened is when not sure if I should say, but I was let go from After 7, and that summer, actually, we started working really heavily. I pressed hard because honestly, it was one of the hardest times in my life. And my father passed, only a month prior to, and I really had to put, my thinking cap on and my hustle hat back on, really more importantly.
Right.
And Omnis was a concept that my buddy Mike and I, it wasn't even called Omnis at the time. It was just a platform. And we were trying to figure out ways to get people to get comfortable with streaming live from home or from wherever they are, instead of, physical presence. And it hadn't really hit here in America. It existed in other places. And he had done some shows in China and Europe, and, was doing well and all this. But here it really hadn't hit yet. And then comes COVID.
Right. Look at us now.
Right. So COVID was really, honestly, the catalyst for us going to market. We had just finished the build on the website and the technology right before COVID hit. And it was almost like God just opened the doors and was like, here.
Wow.
And so in 2020, we did 20 concerts from Teddy Riley to Keith Sweat and 112 and Next. And no, we didn't do Jagged Edge. We tried Tank, Brian McKnight, Case, Bobby V. It was a bunch of shows we were doing. Eric Benet, Lettucey, Melissa Etheridge. We did a bunch of different shows, and it was a good time. We learned a lot.
That's pretty cool. Did you guys do the verses hook up with Teddy and Kenny? So do you want to claim that?
Listen. I may get in trouble for this one day, but I don't give a care. I don't give it. I'm trying not to cuss, Roz. I hope you appreciate that. I haven't cussed yet, but
you can cuss. And my podcast is marked for explicit language.
All right. So that night, yes, we were at Teddy's house. I wasn't there though. I was here in LA, and my buddy Mike was at Teddy's house. Now, there's two sides to this story. I wasn't there, so I can't confirm either. But I will say that there were other influences in the room that were trying to get Teddy to tie his battle into his whole system, right? They wanted Kenny's voice to come out of the speakers of his room, and that he would speak from through his microphone. If you notice, he had a microphone, and he was trying to get Instagram to basically align with his studio system. And Instagram was never built for that. You know what I mean? It was just never built for that. And so he had technical difficulties. Apparently my partner tried to talk him out of it. I don't know if that's 100% true. Apparently there were some other friends of Teddy's around, and they were apparently trying to talk him into it. And Teddy was like, I don't know. What does Michael want to do? And Mike said no, but Teddy decided to go ahead and do it. I don't know. But yes, unfortunately, we were a part of it.
But it wasn't really like a bad thing. It was like it was a moment, and it created like some comic relief we needed at the time, because everybody was on lockdown. Corona was new, and we just needed it, and then it just exploded with Black Twitter and all the memes and stuff. So I think it was a beautiful moment, because it had that unity and that culture. It was us, and it was all in love how all the memes and stuff came up. But
I really think that episode probably is what blew Versus up. I think they would
Yeah,
have been
yeah.
successful anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
that episode, because also, the people don't realize that they broke Instagram through that. That
Yes.
next, when they actually did the battle,
Yes.
Instagram couldn't take the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
completely broke it down, and only 3.5 million people were allowed in. Now they can
Mm-hmm.
allow some more, but it's it wasn't. It had never been done, and it was never
Mm-hmm.
intended to be that. Live wasn't. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it was
It was.
important for the culture. It was a big, big, big move.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was in there. I was happy that I got in and didn't get
Yeah.
shut out before it broke. But that was an
Yeah.
amazing music moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
congratulations on your participation in that.
Good or bad, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
uh,
so with the music, you said it was a data aggregator.
yes.
How does that actually work? Like you said, you guys give the daily information on
Yes.
sales and streams and stuff like that. So
Yes.
where do you get that information from? How does that information flow through?
So to tell you, I would have to sign an NDA to tell you
Oh,
fully,
okay.
because
Okay.
that's essentially our our model. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
okay.
We're an algorithm that is written to track APIs from other distributors.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay, so basically, while the other distributors are still putting together their reports to report at a certain time,
Uh-huh.
they allow a lot of that information online, and allow other people to tap into their API to report it their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just do it in a more efficient and kind of frequent way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I remember back in the day getting that information through Billboard magazine, where you had the actual
Mm-hmm.
magazine in hand, and you would
Mm-hmm.
see all the
Mm-hmm.
chart stuff and all that. That's like one of the things of yesteryear that's
Sorry.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And another
Yeah.
thing, you know what I wish somebody would do? I don't know if it exists now, but we need like liner notes information online. Does that exist anywhere?
That is one of my biggest things, Roz.
Mm,
You're right on point with that. Why is
mm.
it so hard to find who did what on a song?
Yeah.
And shouldn't there be at least one service that says,
Hmm.
okay, if we can put out this song, how easy would it be to also put out who the writers and producers were? It would be,
Exactly.
it's just a copy and paste thing. It's not even
Right.
like you have to build it, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So we actually do that as well. So if you go to
Oh, okay.
musicmaven.com, you can find who are the writers on each song. We're going to find a more streamlined way of promoting that side because it's
Hmm.
so hard to find. But
Yeah.
for now, we do have it. Also, too, for the listeners, if you go to the site,
Hmm.
we're only reporting about 20% of what our algorithm is actually reporting. So in 6 months, this will be a fully blown out. You will find data that you have no idea what to do with,
Oh,
kind of thing.
wow.
So
Oh,
because we don't know what to do with it yet, we're getting it, but
that.
we're only reporting streams and sales.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That whole, the liner notes with all the music information. Like, when I
right.
hear a song today, I want to know, well, who played the flute?
Exactly, exactly.
Ain't nobody playing no flutes these days, but.
No, no. Hey, it might. You never know.
Mhm,
It might be.
so yeah, and
Yeah.
so you guys also you're doing the in-home concerts and things like that. Like who's next on your list for that?
So we have a very long list
Hmm.
in front of us. The thing
Hmm.
is now is what everybody's really trying to see is what's going to happen with COVID.
Mm,
Um, well, what's going to happen with Biden and
hmm.
Harris, and what kind of federal restrictions he puts out
Mm,
to, limit or open up.
right.
Nobody really knows what his plan is based on the current trend of COVID.
Hmm.
I believe that if things are going to be shut down for a while, which essentially is great news for us.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but we've got HER on the books. We've got
Hmm.
a situation with a lot of different record labels that want to do like some overarching ideas where we do their entire roster, kind
Hmm.
of like a Sony or an RCA kind of deal where they're doing a lot of different artists.
Mm-hmm.
There's an emerging artist thing that we're trying to put together right now. So we have a lot. It's just really a matter of kind of factoring in what's the best move for,
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's going to wait for about 2 or 3 weeks before they figure out what they're going to do with 21.
Okay. Yeah. And you were also involved with music management. Are you
Hmm.
still doing music management?
Hell no. No.
But you used to manage Macy Gray and Layla Hathaway. So
Yes.
what was it like being in music
Well,
management?
so I was at Stampede Management
Hmm.
as a staff manager, and Russell Rideau was the lead manager on both of those projects. And he managed a good roster of artists and needed some help. So
Hmm.
he called. I don't know if I called him to pressure him or he called me, but we got together and first put me on the Macy Gray project, which was a lot of fun. We traveled the world, did, I don't know, 250, 300 dates together, an
Hmm.
album called The Way
Hmm.
that we put out that she wrote the majority of. And it was really a really fun time. And then I left the company because she left the company. And then about
Hmm.
6 months later, he called me back because Layla Hathaway started working with him and he needed help again. And so I joined the team and started running kind of day to day
Hmm.
management and kind of like tour support and project management and things like that for her.
Hmm.
Um, and that was a lot of fun. It was just, the thing is those are the good stories in management. The things that make it difficult are kind of like the new artist things
Hmm.
or the things that require, believe me, it requires a lot out of you.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of, you know, staying up late
Hmm.
phone calls, coming up with ideas. Because as what people don't realize is in music management, you are really the hub. You're kind of like the executive over that artist's career, and
Hmm.
so answers about marketing, answers about social media, touring, all those things run through you.
Hmm.
Product endorsements, all those things, all those deals, all those collaborations, all those
Hmm.
things that make an artist successful runs through management.
Oh, wow.
And yes, management is the hub for all that stuff. So you really have to be uh, nimble
Hmm.
and really forward thinking.
Hmm.
And I dove right into it, man. And I think I did okay. But it was a lot more work than what I do now, which I'm really
Hmm.
happy about.
Yeah, it's basically like you're handling their whole entire professional life, you know.
Right,
And
right.
it's basically like babysitting. You know.
People use that term. I can't say that because I represented some grown ass motherfuckers. And it's not babysitting. They have their own lives and their own problems.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I will say it does require you being 24-hour
Hmm.
accessible. You're like a
Yeah.
7-Eleven. You do not close. You're always up and you're always going.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
And you're also TV producing too. I see that you did a show called Coco Cozy Design House.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Well, that was a lot of fun. That was with some friends. Colette Shelton, who's it's kind of a blogger. She was
Hmm.
an executive at Lifetime actually for a while, then turned blogger and started doing interior design. And a friend of mine named Tiara and her husband Dewan started shooting. They're called Raglan Rain. Shout outs.
Hmm.
Um, they produced the show, and upon needing to figure out the plan to get the show bought, I stepped in and became a producer,
Hmm.
and we put out a certain amount of episodes on YouTube and Facebook
Hmm.
because we had done that a year prior to with a football player named Baker Mayfield. Shot his full documentary, but we started airing episodes, short 8 to 9 minute clip episodes
Hmm.
on social media, and Fox took notice and came and licensed the material, and then aired our material on the Fox network. Well, I
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to repeat that same process with this show, and a company called Studio 71 took notice, and through them we were able to secure the deal with Amazon Prime, and it's there now.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And what other
Yeah.
TV producing projects are you working on? Or you have anything coming up in that area?
Not just yet. I have tons of ideas, things that I would like to get going. I've been writing my own scripts recently,
Mm-hmm.
which has been a lot of fun and just kind of discovering that side of my creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe some things will come up in the future. I take things. See, this world in LA is really all about connections, and
Right.
if you're the person that knows the people, you can become a producer on stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I can always take on a project that somebody has if
Mm-hmm.
they're looking to find a home for it because I kind of have some connections that can make that work, or at
Mm-hmm.
least I try to make those connections if I don't have them. So that's how a lot of guys exist out here is really just hustling their relationships, and I mean that in the most positive way. I mean, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You kind of lean on the connections you have to
Mm-hmm.
help establish the business you're trying to get off the ground.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would be
Yeah.
like your dream project to work on?
My dream project. Well, I don't know. I don't know. You know what? No, I can't tell you that. I don't have it copywritten or anything. Nah, I I have something that I've been writing for 7 or 8 years
Hmm.
that I still haven't finished, but it's basically kind of like it's not my story, but it's similar.
Hmm.
It's about a grind, and it's a full length film.
Hmm.
And so no, I'll leave it there because if I
Hmm.
start telling you about it, somebody's gonna
Yeah.
hear this and take my idea, and then
No,
I
we
have to
don't want
knock them
that.
out. No, we don't want that.
So what are you watching these days or listening to these days that influence what you do, or just for your enjoyment? Like, what are you looking at on TV? What
Hmm.
are you listening to?
I'm listening to just about everything.
Hmm.
Um, we've been really heavy music listeners lately
Hmm.
because my wife opened a candle store in downtown LA. Plug
Oh, okay.
RXLA. Bam bam. Yep. We opened a candle store here, and so we play music all day. And I've really taken that opportunity to, oh man, Roz, fall in
Mm.
love with music again and really
Hmm.
become a fan of music because it's hard
Yeah.
when you've done it professionally for so long, and then when you've had your heart broken in it and from it,
Mm.
and as a result of it, it's hard to find love for it again. And you really have to just take yourself all the way out of it and
Hmm.
just be open to whatever is going to inspire you. And so I've been listening to everything from Gypsy Kings to
Hmm.
to Kanye. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
To Florence and the Machine to Chicago.
Hmm.
I've been all over the spectrum, and it's been a really, really good kind of reintroduction of music in my life because I'm finding that, man, if I wish I had started listening to other music besides R&B and gospel when I was
Hmm.
younger.
Yeah.
I wish I was more of a rock head because I love
Hmm.
rock and I love
Hmm.
alternative and I love country.
Hmm.
You know, so I'm not tied to any one thing in that regard.
Hmm.
And the same way goes with film. I can really watch anything as long as it's produced well and written well.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. If you had to pick, who would you say is your favorite uh, songwriters or singers?
um, Favorite songwriter would definitely have to be Babyface. I mean,
Yes. Bow
uh,
down, bow down.
yeah. I mean, to say anybody else, I think would be a little. I don't know what the word is, but it just wouldn't be real. To keep it real, he is the best, and to me. And
Yes.
with that, I have to say that my favorite singer of all time growing up was Donny Hathaway. But
Okay.
the reason Donny Hathaway became my favorite singer is because my dad sang his song out on the road, out on tour.
Mm. Oh,
He
wow.
sang he sang the song "A Song for You," which
Uh-huh.
is, if you'd ask me what my favorite song is, that's what I would tell you.
Mm.
And it would make you think that Donny Hathaway is my favorite singer, which he would definitely be in my top three, but
Hmm.
right under my dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful song right there.
Oh my gosh, that's the song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so what advice would you give aspiring songwriters, or aspiring producers, or just any area in entertainment? Because you've been in so many areas, like people that want to get in, they don't know anybody, they don't really know what to do. what would you say how they should start?
Well, the first thing is really figure out who it is you want to be, and don't skip the process. The process of learning, don't skip it. Don't just try to throw a beat together on your laptop because it feels easy, right? Learn a craft, learn how to play something, appreciate music for its beauty and its vastness. You know, start from there. As an artist, start with really honing in on your craft. If it's your voice, if you're a singer, sing all the time, sing every day. Don't be one of those guys that just sings in the studio. Don't be one of those artists who turns it on when the cameras are on, and then when it turns off, you're like some weirdo sitting in the corner. You know what I mean? Be authentically who you are at all times, and don't try to change, or don't try to formulate to conform, I should say, to what's popular, because it's not going to work.
Right.
And look, getting a platinum record and making $1 million isn't working. That's not the definition of success. Definition of success in our business is longevity. And that only comes with being authentic and sticking to something long enough where people can depend on it. If people can depend on it from you and they want to come to you to hear it, then you'll be successful and you will have longevity. You know, but don't get tricked. Don't get tricked. This industry will make you think that it's really about, oh man, put this record out, man, it's gonna blow up. We're gonna be in this video, man. We're gonna ride around, whoop whoop. You know, I hear all these things, man. You know, I've consulted every company from the ghettoest company to, you know, the most straight-laced company, and they all think that the pathway to success is just a click away. They really do, because the industry would make you believe that. But what you don't know is that behind a lot of these stories that look like they're overnight, there's years and years of trial and error and changing your name and changing your image around and doing this and doing that to try to figure out what's going to actually sell. You know, and what people want to hear from you. People may not even want to hear from you what you think they want to hear. You don't even know. So don't skip the process. Sorry, that's the long way around that answer, but just don't skip the process of learning and really becoming a full, complete artist.
Yeah, and respect the craft.
Respect it. Respect it.
Absolutely. So tell the people where they can find you online if they want to check out.
I don't want nobody to find me. Don't find me. Leave me alone.
Okay.
But if you have to find me, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Those are really, I'm on Clubhouse. I would like to do more on Clubhouse if anybody's listening, because I feel like I do have a lot to share, and there should even be a part 2 to our interview, Roz, and I'll really kind of go into the intricacies of like what I was trying to keep it brief today. There's so much. There's so much, and there's a conversation about every topic or every question that you ask me today.
Absolutely.
And the best forum to do that, where I think I could really help people and kind of keep them from making some of the same mistakes I made, is Clubhouse. So I'd like to do more there.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
That's a great new platform. You know, that just opened up. But I think like the thing that people should be doing these days is like somebody like yourself having, especially since everything is online now, having workshops. Like I think people would like clamor to take workshops from somebody like you so they can learn things like that.
I've definitely considered it. I haven't found the platform that makes it easy for me. It sounds like a lot of work to do it myself. But if somebody had a platform that I could join on and create kind of like a masterclass workshop, if you will, like a not, what is the not masterclass? What's the one that you help people that you're not actually a master in?
Yeah, I think they have I think there's a platform called Teachable. I think that's one of them that they do.
Oh, okay.
There's a few out there, but yeah, I think there's not very many of them focused on music and entertainment. So I think that's like wide open right there.
Yeah, Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. This has been really cool. And
Oh.
a trip down memory lane from the old Edmonds building.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I told
I
Brains,
appreciate you.
I told Brains, like, somebody should, we could make a movie about just the whole experience
Oh,
of
my
Edmonds
gosh.
Tower.
Yeah. It's
Because
like the
it's,
new Motown.
yeah, it's like so many memories and so much
Yeah.
talent came through there. So
Oh my gosh.
it's just amazing.
I can't I to this day I still meet people
Mhm.
that said that, oh yeah, I remember you from Edmonds Tower. And I'm like, dude, do you remember how many people used to come through there?
Yes.
I don't want to be
Yes.
rude, but to remember everybody that came through, I
Hmm.
mean, I would know thousands of people because that's how many
Hmm.
artists and producers and writers were through there. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, yeah. So thank you so much. And yeah, I definitely look forward to part two. Just let me know when you're ready and
Thank
we can
you.
set that up.
Okay. All right. Well, let me
All
know.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Okay, Ross.
Thanks for taking the time to tune in to the Wordy Girl Entertainment Podcast. Don't forget to check out my blog at www.wordygirlent.com. That's WORDYGIRLENT.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at WordyGirlENT and on Facebook at www.facebook.com/WordyGirlENT. And always remember, it all begins with a single word. So what are you waiting for? Go write.